The charity shop smells like damp wool and lavender spray, the way London's older places do when they've been warmed too quickly after a wet warning. Outside, Notting Hill is doing its usual trick. Pretty facades, expensive quiet, a drizzle that never commits. Inside, a chipped ceramic bowl sits on the counter with a handwritten sign, Keys, 50p. It's ridiculous, really. Keys are the one thing you never buy second-hand, unless you're buying trouble. Still, Leona pauses. She has her umbrella tucked under her arm, her tote bag tugging her shoulder, her mind full of small anxieties that have no place to go. She picks up the top key because it's cold and heavy and old enough to have edges like a small knife. It isn't fancy. Brass, dulled, the teeth uneven, the head worn smooth as if someone once rubbed it the way you rub a worry stone. A thin paper tag is tied to it with string, the sort of tag used for luggage or pets. The tag is blank, no ink, no address, no number, just a faint impression where writing once was, pressed hard enough to bruise the paper. Leona flits it over. There's a smudge, like graphite, and something else she can't name at first. An indentation in the shape of a postcode that was erased, not rubbed away, but scraped away, as if whoever removed it was angry at the information itself. 50p, the woman behind the counter says, not looking up from her book. Leona laughs, because she doesn't know what else to do. For a key.
For the key, the woman corrects, and finally looks up. Her eyes are pale and steady. Or for the story. Depends what you like. Leona should put it back. She should leave. She should do 1,000 sensible things. Instead, she drops a coin into the bowl. It clinks softly against other coins, a tiny chime that makes the hair on her arms rise. The woman doesn't react, just slides the key into a small brown envelope and seals it like it's a letter. Leona steps back outside, and the drizzle presses into her cheeks like fingertips. Portobello Road is a few streets away, the market stalls closing like tired petals. She walks home with the envelope in her bag, thinking she's bought herself a joke, a charm, a nothing. And yet, the weight of it seems to change as she walks, sometimes heavy, sometimes nearly absent, as if it's deciding whether to exist. At her flat, she empties her tote on the kitchen table, receipts, a bruised banana, her work pass, the brown envelope. She leaves the envelope unopened while she makes tea. The kettle rattles, the radiator clicks, the city breathes through the window. When she finally slides the key out, it catches the light and throws it back in a dull flash. The blank tag swings from the string and taps her knuckle softly. Tap, tap, like it's impatient. Leona turns it in her hand. On the underside of the keyhead, someone has etched a tiny mark, almost invisible. A triangle, and beneath it, a dot. A builder's mark, maybe. A locksmith's. Or something else entirely. Her phone buzzes with an email from her landlord about the boiler inspection next week. And for a second, the words on the screen blur. Next week. Always next week. Always the future. Always around the corner. Leona sets the key down on the table, meaning to forget it. The moment her fingers leave it, the radiator clicks again, louder than before, like a door latch lifting. And somewhere in the building, a lock turns with a soft, distant certainty. By Sunday afternoon, the rain has turned into a thin gray sheet that makes every street look freshly varnished. Leona tells herself she's going for a walk, not because she's thinking about a key, not because she woke up with the strange certainty that the triangle and dot mark mean something. She takes the key anyway, tucked into her coat pocket like a guilty secret. Notting Hill has a certain kind of calm on Sundays, the sort you can only buy with money or time. Cafes glow softly. People carry flowers wrapped in brown paper. Buses sigh at stops and pull away. Leona's feet take her past the blue doors and white columns she usually avoids because they make her feel like an intruder. She turns down a narrow street with plane trees and wet fallen leaves plastered to the pavement. Halfway down, she stops. It isn't dramatic. It's just a building. 6 stories, cream-painted, with black railings, and a tiny communal garden out front that no one ever uses. But the moment she sees it, her stomach tightens as if she's walked into a memory she doesn't own. A brass plaque by the entrance reads, Wrenhaven House. Leona swallows. She's never heard of it. She's sure she hasn't. She steps under the shallow awning, shakes rain from her umbrella, and looks at the row of buzzers. Names, surnames in neat little labels, flat numbers beside them. Her hand moves without permission. She pulls the key out and holds it up to the light. The teeth look wrong, too jagged, too old, like something from another era.
She laughs quietly at herself. Then she notices the communal door. It's a heavy wooden thing painted black, the paint chipped along the edges, with a brass handle worn bright where hundreds of hands have pulled it open. The keyhole beneath the handle is old-fashioned, a proper keyhole shaped like a teardrop. Leona doesn't mean to, not at first. She just steps closer, just to see. The key slides into the lock as if it has been waiting there for years. Her breath catches. She tries to pull it back out. It resists, then loosens with a tiny judder. She turns it the slightest fraction. A lock clicks. It's the smallest sound in the world, but it changes the air around her. The door seems to relax, as if it's been holding its breath. Leona freezes. Her heart is suddenly loud. She looks over her shoulder, expecting someone to shout, to ask what she thinks she's doing. No one is there. The street is empty except for rain. She pushes the door open a crack. Warm air spills out, smelling faintly of old carpet and someone's cooking. Onions, maybe, or garlic. The building is alive. People live here. People are behind these walls, unaware that a stranger has just unlocked their front door with a key she bought for 50 pence. Leona pulls the door shut again as gently as she can, turns the key back, and removes it. The lock clicks again, sealing itself. Her hands are trembling. She presses her palm to the door for a moment, as if apologizing to it. This is the moment she should walk away. Instead, she looks back at the buzzers and notices something she hadn't seen before. One of the flat labels has been peeled off, leaving a rectangle of cleaner plastic beneath. The flat number beside it is 4B. Leona doesn't know why she focuses on that. She just does, like her mind has chosen a thread and will pull it until something unravels. She steps out from under the awning and stands in the rain, staring up at the windows. Most are curtained. Some show soft light, television glow, movement. The 4th floor window, second from the left, is dark. The curtain is half open. A small, pale strip of paper is taped to the inside of the glass. From the street, she can't read it, but she can see it's typed, not handwritten, official-looking, neat margins. Leona tucks the key back into her pocket, suddenly aware of how little she knows about what she's holding. She walks away fast, rain slicking her hair to her temples, and tells herself she will go home and throw the key in the Thames. But as she turns the corner, her phone buzzes. A calendar notification she doesn't remember setting flashes onto the screen.
Rendon Haven House, 4B, 1840, don't be late. Leona stops walking. Her fingers go cold around the phone, and for the first time, the key in her pocket feels less like an object and more like an invitation.
At 1835, Leona is standing outside Ranhaven House again, pretending she's waiting for someone. She tells herself it's because she needs to return the key. That's the story she will use if anyone asks. A reasonable story, a kind story. Her phone's notification is gone. When she checks her calendar, there is nothing there. No reminder, no event. But the time still sits in her chest like a countdown. She unlocks the communal door and slips inside. The hallway smells of damp coats and older paint. A notice board by the stairs is littered with flyers, cat sitting, yoga classes, a water shutoff warning, a faded poster about bike theft. Leona climbs to the 4th floor, each step too loud. Her pulse keeps time with the stairwell's echo. On the landing, there are 3 doors, 4A, 4B, 4C. Brass numbers screwed on, a little tarnished. 4B's doormat is a thin black one with no pattern. There's a mail slot in the door, and a single envelope has been pushed halfway through, stuck like a tongue. Leona reads the name on it, Mr. A. Harrow. She doesn't know an A. Harrow. She doesn't know anyone here. She knocks softly. Once. Twice. The sound feels swallowed by the carpet. No answer. She tells herself to leave. She even turns slightly, as if she might. Then she hears something inside the flat. A faint clicking sound. Like a timer. Like a kitchen clock with a stiff mechanism. Leona's skin prickles. She knocks again, louder. Hello? Sorry. Silence. She looks at the key in her hand. It's absurd. It's criminal. It's... The timer clicks again. Leona slides the key into the lock. It fits. It turns. The door opens with a soft sigh, as if relieved. Inside, the flat is dim and smells faintly of dust and aftershave. Not the sour smell of an abandoned place, more like a place that's been lived in recently, then closed up carefully. Leona stands in the doorway, not crossing the threshold, suddenly aware that she has become the sort of person she warns her friends about. The hallway inside is narrow. A framed print hangs slightly crooked. A coat rack holds a single dark overcoat. The clicking sound is coming from deeper within. Mr. Harrow? Leona calls. No reply. She steps in, shutting the door behind her without thinking, and the sound of the building outside disappears. The air feels thicker, quieter, as if the flat is wrapped in padding. The sitting room is on the right, a sofa with a throw draped neatly, a mug in the sink, a book face down on the coffee table. On the wall, a clock, the source of the clicking. It isn't a normal clock. It's a small digital timer mounted beside the frame, like something you'd use for a lamp. A white plastic box with buttons. The screen shows a time, counting down in seconds. Leona's mouth goes dry. She steps closer. The timer is attached by a thin wire that runs behind the picture frame. The frame is of a black and white photograph. Baronial buildings, maybe. A river. A bridge. The wire disappears behind the frame. Leona lifts the frame gently, expecting an alarm to shriek, a trap to snap shut, anything. Behind it is a small hole drilled into the plaster. The wire runs through, into darkness. The timer ticks down. Leona's hands start to shake. She sets the frame back. She backs away.
she should leave. Now. Immediately. But she cannot look away from the timer. It's like watching a train approach. At 0010, the air in the room seems to tighten. At 0005, the hallway light flickers once. At 0000, the timer clicks. And somewhere behind the wall, something wakes up. A sound rises from the corridor beyond, faint at first, then clearer, as if a door has opened inside the plaster. A voice, soft and calm, speaking into the flat like a message. Leona's own voice. Not similar, not approximate, not a recording that resembles her. It is her, down to the way she breathes between words. Leona, the voice says, warmly, as if calling her from another room. You're late. Leona stumbles backwards, hitting the edge of the sofa. Her heart slams against her ribs. The voice continues, conversational. It's all right. You're here now. Don't touch the frame again. Leona's throat closes. She cannot speak. She cannot move. The voice laughs softly. If you're hearing this, the key worked. Good. That means we can begin. Leona's eyes flood. She backs out of the sitting room, as quietly as she can, and her heel knocks the leg of a chair. It scrapes against the floor. The voice stops.
Silence stretches, heavy and listening. Then, from somewhere behind the wall, the voice speaks again, no longer warm. I can hear you, it says, and I know exactly where you're standing. Leona runs, not out of the building, out of the flat. She fumbles the handle, drags the door open, and stumbles into the corridor as if surfacing from deep water. The landing is empty. The light hums. The carpet absorbs everything. She doesn't stop until she's down 2 flights of stairs. Only then does she cling to the rail and breathe, sharp and shallow, like she's been hit. Her phone is in her hand without her remembering taking it out. The screen is smeared from her fingers. There are 3 missed calls from an unknown number, and 1 new message. No sender name, just a number. Don't make this noisy. Come back. Leona's first instinct is to call the police. The second is to call someone, anyone. The third is to pretend none of this happened and go home and lock her own door until she forgets her name. Instead, she climbs back up. It isn't bravery. It's something uglier. The need to understand what has just happened to her. The need to claw her way back to reality. She reaches the 4th floor again, slower now. 4B's door is still closed. The corridor is still quiet. Leona presses her ear to the door. Nothing. She slides the key in again, turns it, opens the door a fraction. The flat is silent. The timer's clicking has stopped. She steps inside with the caution of someone entering a room where an argument has just ended. The sitting room looks unchanged. The timer on the wall is blank now, screen dark. Leona walks straight to the picture frame. Her hands hover, trembling. She looks around, searching for a camera, a speaker, anything. Her gaze catches on the floor by the skirting board, beneath the frame. There's a faint scuff, like something has been moved recently. She crouches, runs her finger along the edge of the wall.
A seam, not plaster, something fitted, a panel. Leona's breath catches again. She pushes gently. The panel gives, swinging inward on hidden hinges, revealing a narrow gap in the wall, a dark slit large enough for a person to slip through sideways. A cold draft breathes from it, smelling of paper and stale air. Leona stands, staring, as if waiting for the wall to correct itself. It doesn't. She takes her phone out, turns on the torch, and shines it into the gap. The light catches metal shelving, not a cupboard, not a wiring cavity, a room. Leona steps through. Inside, the space is no bigger than a walk-in wardrobe, but it's packed so densely it feels like a bunker. Shelves stacked with folders, envelopes, laminated cards, a small desk bolted to the wall, a cheap plastic chair, a printer, 2 small speakers, black and directional, mounted in the corners like watchful eyes. On the desk is a file open to a page, stamped with a date. Leona's eyes snag on the date, the way your eye snags on a road accident. It's next week. Not next week as a vague future, a specific date printed in black ink. 15 April. Today is the 8th. Leona flips the page with shaking fingers. The document is a tenancy notice, formal, crisp, with a landlord's letterhead and a block of legal text. It's addressed to Leona Ashfield, her full name, her current address, her national insurance number, her signature. Except the signature isn't hers. It's a careful imitation. Leona's stomach drops. She turns to the next document. A bank letter, also dated next week. A new account opening. Her name. Her details. Another signature. Then a medical appointment letter. A courier delivery confirmation. A plane booking. All dated after today. Leona's fingertips go numb as she flips through them. Each one is a piece of her life projected forward, assembled like a costume. On the last page is a simple printed itinerary, a list of times and places, like a rehearsal schedule. 15 April, 0710, Lee Flat. 15 April, 0802, Westbourne Park Station. 15 April, 0940, meeting. 15 April, 11:15, incident. 15 April, 1300, witness statement. The word incident is underlined twice. At the bottom, in smaller print, is a line that makes her throat close. Key delivery confirmed. Wrenhaven House, Charity Channel. Leona steps back, bumping the chair. The speakers in the corner stare at her, dead and patient. This isn't an accident. This isn't a prank. This is a plan, and her name is written all over it. Her phone buzzes again. Unknown number. Leona answers without thinking. A man's voice comes through, calm, almost polite. "You're in the room," he says, as if stating the weather. Leona's mouth opens. No sound comes. "I told you not to touch the frame," the voice continues. "But you always do, don't you? You always need to know." Leona forces air into her lungs. "Who are you?" A small pause, as if he's smiling. Someone who doesn't like losing keys. Someone who doesn't like strangers in locked places. Leona's eyes flick to the doorway. The narrow gap back to the sitting room suddenly looks like a throat. "You've seen the papers," the voice says. "Good. Then you understand." "Understand what?" Leona whispers. That your life can be worn, he replies. Like a coat, like a face. Leona Sand grips the phone hard enough to hurt. I'm calling the police. The voice laughs softly. And what will you tell them? That you broke into a flat and found next week on a desk? Leona's breath stutters. You'll do what you're told, the voice says, gentle again, because you don't want next week to belong to someone else. Then the call ends. Leona stands in the hidden room, surrounded by her future in paper form, and realizes with cold clarity that the key wasn't found. It was placed. The next morning, Leona goes back to the charity shop, like a person returning to the scene of a dream to prove it was real. Portobello Road is busy, tourists already gathering like birds, but she keeps her head down, hood up, hands buried in her coat pockets. The shop bell jingles when she enters. The same lavender spray, the same damp wool. The woman behind the counter looks up as if she's been expecting her. Back already? Leona's voice feels brittle. I bought a key here. Yes. The woman turns a page in her book. 50 pence. It opened a building door, Leona says, watching the woman's face. It opened a flat. For the first time, the woman's expression changes. Not surprise, but a kind of tired resignation. People donate all sorts. It wasn't a donation, Leona insists. It was a mistake, the woman offers. Leona's hands clench. Someone's using my name. Someone's got documents, dated next week. The woman's eyes flick to the window, to the street beyond, and back. You should leave that where you found it. I didn't find it, Leona snaps. You sold it. A pause. The woman closes her book carefully. All right, she says quietly. Come here. She gestures to the side of the counter where the donations are sorted. Leona follows, heart pounding. The woman opens a drawer and pulls out a battered ledger. We log valuables, she says. Not keys, usually. Keys are keys. She flips through the pages, then stops. Her finger taps a line.
Yesterday, she reads aloud. Keys, envelope, bowl. Leona leans in. The handwriting is neat, deliberate. Beside the entry is a small mark, a triangle, and a dot beneath it. Leona's stomach twists. That mark was on the key. The woman nods, as if she's confirmed something she already feared. It's how they tag things, she says, low, so the right person picks the right item. Leona's mouth goes dry. They? The woman looks older in the harsh light of the sorting room. Sometimes we get donations that aren't donations, she says. We're told not to question it. We're told a man from the council will help us with a grant if we cooperate. We're told the CCTV will be fixed. The leak in the roof will be repaired. Leona hears the words council and feels the world tilt. Who told you? The woman's gaze hardens. A man in a gray coat, she says, always polite, always smiling as if he knows something about you you've never said out loud. Leona's mind flashes to the blurred figure she'd imagined near the underground entrance. Gray coat, half hidden. Did he come in today? Leona asks. No, the woman says. Not yet. Leona's hands shake. Why would they put it in the bowl? Why not give it directly to whoever? The woman gives a small, humorless smile. Because people like you exist, she says. People who pick up stories. People who can be made to look like they were there on purpose.
Leona's throat tightens. I didn't. I know, the woman says, almost kindly. But the paper trail won't. Leona thinks of the documents in the hidden room, tenancy notices, bank letters, her details, her forged signature, a costume of legitimacy. The woman reaches under the counter and pulls out a small donation bag. This came in last night, she says. No label, left on the step after closing. She opens it. Inside is a leather key fob and a laminated card. The card is blank on one side and printed on the other with a single sentence, typed in clean black letters. Next week is already written. Leona's breath catches. The woman drops the card as if it burns. Leona picks it up anyway, her fingers numb, and turns it over. On the blank side, pressed into the plastic as if stamped, is a tiny triangle and dot, and beneath it, in faint ink that only shows when she tilts it to the light, a flat number, 4B. Leona looks up at the woman, panic rising like water. They want me to go back. The woman's voice is flat. They want you to do what the papers say. Leona's phone buzzes in her pocket. Unknown number. She doesn't answer. She knows what it will be. Another calm voice. Another instruction. Another invisible hand guiding her. Instead, she walks out of the shop into the bright gray day, clutching the laminated card like evidence. Behind her, the bell jingles once, sharp, cheerful, and then stops. And in the window of the charity shop, reflected in the glass, Leona sees a man in a gray coat standing across the street, watching her.
When she turns, the street is full of people and umbrellas and movement. No gray coat, only the feeling of being observed, measured, arranged. Leona returns to Wren Haven House that evening because the alternative is waiting, and waiting feels like dying slowly. She tells herself she's going to take photographs. She tells herself she's going to gather proof and walk into a police station with something solid in her hands. But her hands are sweating around the key, and she knows she's walking back into someone else's control. The communal door opens again too easily. Upstairs, 4B is quiet. No sounds behind the door. No television. No footsteps. Leona unlocks it, steps inside, and closes the door as gently as a confession. The sitting room looks almost welcoming in the low light. The same sofa, the same throw, the same face-down book. The timer on the wall is blank. Leona doesn't go near the frame this time. She goes straight to the panel seam, presses it, and slips into the hidden room. The air inside is cooler, stale, like paper kept too long in a drawer. The desk lamp is off, but she switches on her phone torch and sweeps it across the shelves. Folders are labeled with neat codes, not names. NH14, KG03, STP09, abbreviations, locations, routes, Notting Hill, King's Cross, St. Pancras. A map is pinned to the wall, London zones outlined in red pen, with lines drawn like veins between stations and streets. Tiny marks cluster around certain areas, Notting Hill, Paddington, Baker Street, Canary Wharf. Leona's mouth goes dry. This isn't just about her. She finds a folder with her initials, LA, and pulls it down.
Inside are photographs of her, leaving her office building, buying coffee, walking home, laughing at something on her phone. Shots taken from angles she never noticed, across the street, from inside a car, from a doorway. On the last page is a printed sheet titled simply, Presence Plan, Leona Ashfield, week of 15 April. Below it, bullet points, timed to the minute. 0710, exit current residence, captured by CCTV. 0722, contact neighbor, witness confirmation. 0802, station entry recorded. 0940, meeting established. 1115, incident controlled. 1120, presence verified via audio, speaker placement. 1300, statement obtained, pressure. The phrases are clinical. They don't read like predictions. They read like choreography. Leona's stomach turns. She flips another page and finds a list of phrases written as if they are her own words, in quotation marks. I didn't see his face. I was only there because I heard someone call my name. I thought I recognized the coat. I can't be sure. I'm sorry. Her throat closes. These aren't documents dated next week because time is broken. They're dated next week because someone is building a future and planning to drop her into it like a pawn. Leona lifts her phone and begins to record video. She pans slowly. The shelves, the maps, the folders, the speakers in the corners. A faint click behind her makes her freeze. Not the timer, not the radiator. A door notch. Leona's blood goes cold.
She turns off her phone torch instantly, plunging the hidden room into darkness. Outside, in the sitting room, a footstep, soft, careful, someone walking as if they know exactly where not to creak. Leona presses herself against the shelving, heart hammering. She forces her breathing shallow. Another footstep, closer. A pause, then the sound of a hand brushing the wall near the picture frame, the panel seam. Someone presses it. The hidden room's entrance shifts slightly, a thin line of light appearing like a knife between the wall and panel. Leona's mind screams at her to move, to run, to do anything. She doesn't. The panel opens fully, flooding the room with dim light from the sitting room. A man stands in the doorway, half silhouetted, gray coat, neat hair. The polite smile Leona never saw directly, but felt in the charity shop's glass. He looks into the room, and for a second, his eyes land exactly where Leona is hiding. It's impossible. She's in shadow. She's still. But his gaze locks on to her anyway, as if he's always known where she would be. Leona, he says softly, not raised, not threatening, a familiar calm. You really do love stories. Leona's legs feel like water. Her phone is a dead weight in her hand. The man steps into the room and closes the panel behind him. The sitting room light becomes a thin seam. Then nothing. In the darkness, his voice is closer. Do you know what a key is? He asks. It's not metal. It's permission. Leona forces herself to speak. Why me?
A small pause, as if he's amused. Because you're ordinary, he says. Ordinary people are the best witnesses. No one questions ordinary. Leona's fingers tighten around her phone. You're forging my life. You say that like it's hard, he replies, mild. London is full of paper, full of systems, full of doors. All you need is the right key. Leona's stomach twists. And the documents, dated next week? He laughs softly. A date is just a costume, he says. It makes people obey. Leona swallows. What happens next week? In the darkness, she feels him shift slightly, like a man leaning closer to whisper. Next week, he says, you will be seen where we need you, and you will say what we need you to say. Leona's voice shakes. Or what? His tone stays polite. Or you'll become the person the documents already describe, he says, the one who did it on purpose. Leona's breath stutters. Her mind races. Police, evidence, escape, anything. The man's voice drops, gentle as a hand on her shoulder. You can make this easy, he says, or you can make it loud. Loud makes people disappear.
Leona feels tears burn behind her eyes, but anger rises underneath. She thinks of the laminated card. Next week is already written. She thinks, only if you let it be. And in the darkness of the hidden room, she makes a decision that feels like stepping off a ledge. She lifts her phone and presses record. The screen lights up her face, bright and terrified. The man's smile falters for the first time. The phone's tiny light is a flare in the bunker dark room. The man's face becomes briefly visible, pale, composed, eyes sharp with calculation. He moves fast, reaching for her wrist. Leona jerks back, knocking into the shelving. Folders cascade like dead leaves. The sound is loud in the enclosed space, paper on paper, panic amplified. The man grabs the phone. Leona twists, bites down on a scream she can't afford, and yanks her arm back hard enough that something in her shoulder pops with pain. The phone slips from his grasp and skitters across the floor, screen flashing, recording still running. Leona dives for it. The man's hand closes on her coat collar, dragging her back. "Stop," he says, no longer polite. Leona claws at his wrist, nails digging. She isn't strong, but desperation makes its own muscle. She kicks blindly, and her heel catches the cheap plastic chair, sending it clattering into him. He swears under his breath, a small crack in his calm. Leona lunges again, snatches her phone, and bolts for the panel. The man is quicker. He catches her elbow, spins her, slams her shoulder into the shelving. Pain flares white. Leona gasps. And then, an alarm. Not loud, not screaming, a quiet chirp from the sitting room, the sort of sound a smoke detector makes when its battery is dying. Chirp, chirp. The man freezes. His head tilts slightly, listening. Leona hears it too, and something in her mind catches. The sound isn't random. It's timed. A warning.
The man releases her instantly, stepping back as if she has become dangerous. "Not now," he mutters, not to her, but to the air. Chirp, chirp. Leona's phone shakes in her hand. On the screen, still recording, she sees the man's face, half lit, eyes narrowed. He looks at her for a long moment, and the politeness returns, like a mask settling into place. "You've just made it complicated," he says quietly. Leona spits air through clenched teeth. "Good." He smiles faintly. "You think you've changed something," he says, "but you don't understand how much of your week is already owned." Chirp. He turns away from her and presses the panel. It opens. He slips into the sitting room without looking back. Leona staggers after him, shoulders screaming, but by the time she reaches the sitting room, the flat is empty. The front door is still locked from the inside. The windows are shut. There is no fire escape she can see. And yet, he's gone. Only the faint smell of rain and wool remains, like he's brought the outdoors in with him. Leona stands trembling, phone held tight, recording saved. The smoke detector chirps one last time, then stops. She tries to follow the route he must have taken, searching for another hidden exit, behind curtains, under rugs, inside cupboards. Nothing. The flat is ordinary, too ordinary. But when she returns to the hidden room, the shelves have been disturbed, not by their struggle alone. A folder is missing. Her folder. The one labeled L.A. Leona's stomach sinks.
He's taken her script with him. She stares at the remaining folders, the map, the speakers, and realizes the fight wasn't about catching him, it was about control. He's adjusted, he's rewritten. Leona forces herself to breathe. She scrolls through her phone's video, checking the clip. Shaky footage, darkness, his voice, his face. Proof. Something she can take to someone. She doesn't go to the local station. She knows how that will sound. A key, a hidden room. Next week, documents. A woman with a camera and a story that smells like paranoia. Instead, she goes home and spends the night on the floor with her laptop, sifting. Wren Haven House. A. Harrow. Nothing useful. Then she searches the codes she saw on the folders. STP-09, KG-03, NH-14. At first, nothing. Then a small thing, a forum thread about a series of unusual thefts, people's identities used to sign for deliveries they never ordered, bank accounts opened in their names, witness statements that never quite add up. The cases are scattered, dismissed as separate frauds. But one comment stands out, posted by a user with a name like a joke. Keys. Always keys. Always next week. Leona's skin prickles. She replies, hands shaking, careful with her words. I have a key. I found a room. I have video. Who are you? For a long time. Nothing happens. Then her laptop pings. A direct message. You're late, but you're not dead. That's something. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Ladbroke Grove. Bring the key. Bring your fear.
Leona stares at the message until the screen blurs. Her shoulder throbs. Her phone feels heavy. Outside her window, London moves on, indifferent. And somewhere, in a locked flat she shouldn't have entered, a plan is being revised around her, like a net tightening. At 09:58, Leona stands under the Ladbroke Grove station sign, watching people stream past like water. Her heart beats too fast. She's barely slept. Her shoulder is taped and aching. The key is in her pocket, wrapped in tissue like it might cut through fabric. She keeps looking for the gray coat. Instead, a man in a battered navy parka approaches, hands in his pockets, face unremarkable in the way London faces often are, made for blending into crowds. Leona Ashfield, he says, not a question. Leona stiffens. Who are you? He glances around, then gestures toward a cafe across the road. Not here, he says. Too many ears. They sit in a corner by the window. The man orders black coffee. Leona doesn't order anything. She feels like if she eats or drinks, the world will become too real. The man studies her for a long moment. His eyes are tired, not frightened. Tired in the way people get when they've been disappointed by systems too many times. Show me, he says. Leona slides her phone across the table and plays the clip. The man watches without expression. When it ends, he nods once, as if confirming what he already knew. Good, he says. He got sloppy. Leona's breath catches. You know him. I know the kind, the man says, and I know the trick. Leona leans in. What is it? The documents. Next week. The man's mouth twists. Not magic, he says. Just confidence. People obey paperwork. They obey dates. They obey official fonts. That's all it is. But how? He interrupts gently.
How do you get letters with future dates? He says. You don't need the future. You need access to templates, systems, stamps. You print what you plan to make true. Leona's stomach turns. So they stage it. Exactly, he says. They build a week like a set, then they walk someone through it. Leona's fingers tighten on the edge of the table. Why? The man sips his coffee. Because if you can fake presence, he says, you can fake innocence. You can make a witness swear they saw someone at a place at a time, and if that witness is you, ordinary, believable, then the whole thing holds. Leona swallows. You said keys. The man's gaze flicks to her pocket. Keys are the easiest way to enter your life, he says. Physical, legal, psychological. A key says you belong. Leona's voice shakes. Who are you? The man hesitates, as if deciding how much to trust her. Then he reaches into his parka and pulls out a small ring of keys, dozens of them, different shapes, different ages. Some are modern Yale keys, some are old brass like hers. He places them on the table gently. They clink softly, a sound like bones. My name's Dorian, he says. I collect mistakes. Leona stares. You're police? Dorian laughs once, humorless. No, police don't collect mistakes, they file them. Leona's throat tightens. Then what are you? A person who got framed, he says simply. A person who didn't have a key when he needed one. A person who learned the patterns.
Leona's chest tightens with cold empathy. Did they do this to you? Dorian nods. 3 years ago, he says. Different borough, different name, same triangle and dot. Leona's fingers go numb. Triangle and dot, what is it? A marker, Dorian says. A tag. Their way of signing their work. They move through charity shops, lost property offices, key-cutting kiosks, anywhere keys change hands. Leona's mind flashes to the bowl, the ledger, the mark in neat handwriting. Dorian leans closer. They don't want you dead, he says. They want you useful. That's why he didn't hurt you. That's why he talked. Leona whispers, What happens next week? Dorian's eyes harden. Something that needs a witness, he says. Something that needs an ordinary face to stand in the right place. Leona's voice cracks. Then we stop it. Dorian shakes his head slowly. We can't stop what we don't know, he says. And he took your folder. Leona's mouth goes dry. Then how? Dorian taps for phone. You have his face, his voice. That's more than most ever get. Leona's phone buzzes. Unknown number. She flinches. Dorian nods at it. Answer, he says quietly. Leona's blood turns to ice. No. Answer, Dorian repeats, and put it on speaker. Leona's fingers tremble as she accepts. The voice comes through instantly, calm as ever. Leona, it says, warmly, we need to talk. Dorian's gaze locks on Leona, urging her. Leona forces her voice steady. You broke into my life. A small laugh.
You stepped into ours, the man replies. But it's all right. We can fix this. Dorian watches the air as if he can see the man at the other end. You've got someone with you, the voice says casually. A man, navy parka, bad posture. He thinks he's clever. Leona's blood drains. Dorian goes very still. You really should pick better friends, the voice continues. He's already lost once. That's why he's angry. Dorian leans closer to the phone. Who are you? He asks, voice low. A pause. Then the man's tone shifts, amused. Dorian, he says, like tasting the name. Still collecting keys. Still pretending you're not on our board. Leona's throat closes. How do you know? The voice ignores her. Here's what happens now, it says, gentle again. Leona returns the key. Leona forgets the room. Leona goes back to being uninteresting. Dorian's jaw clenches. Or next week arrives exactly as written, the voice says softly, and Leona finds out what it feels like to watch someone wear her face. The call ends. In the cafe's quiet, Leona can hear her own breathing, ragged and loud. Dorian gathers his keys from the table one by one, calm hands betraying no fear. Then he looks at Leona with a kind of grim affection. "They're closer than I thought," he says, "which means we're on the right track." Leona swallows hard. "What do we do?" Dorian's eyes flick to the window, to the street beyond, to the moving city. "We write our own next week," he says.
And for the first time since the key entered her life, Leona feels something other than fear. She feels the beginning of a fight.
Leona doesn't go back to Wrenhaven House that night. Dorian insists. "They'll be waiting," he says. "You don't walk back into a trap twice." Instead, they sit in Dorian's tiny rented room above a shop in Shepherd's Bush, surrounded by old folders and battered notebooks. His life looks like an archive of people who were almost erased. He spreads photographs across the table, shots of street corners, charity shops, key-cutting kiosks inside supermarkets, lost property offices. Each has a small triangle and dot mark drawn beneath it in pen. "They build roots," Dorian says. "They move by habit, like foxes." Leona's phone rests between them, like a third presence. The video of the gray coat man sits in her gallery like a bruise. "Who is he?" Leona asks. Dorian shakes his head. "Names change," he says. "Faces change, but the work stays the same." Leona thinks of her folder missing, of the way the man spoke as if next week was owned. "You said they print what they plan to make true," Leona whispers. "So next week is a crime." Dorian nods. "And you're the witness," he says. "Or the fall." Leona's stomach twists. "Then we need the plan." Dorian taps a notebook. "We can bait them," he says. "They believe in scripts. We give them one." Leona's mouth goes dry. "How?" Dorian looks at her for me. "We go back," he says, "but not to fight, to listen." Leona's skin prickles. They already know your moves," Dorian says, "so we make them watch the wrong thing."
The next day, they return to Wrenhaven House in daylight, when people are leaving for work and the building is noisy with ordinary life. Leona wears a cap low over her hair. Dorian carries a tool bag like a maintenance man. They don't use the key. They watch. From across the street, tucked under the awning of a cafe, they observe the entrance. Leona's heart keeps trying to sprint ahead of her body. At 11:26, a man in a gray coat appears. Leona's breath catches. It's him. The same posture, the same neatness, the same polite expression that belongs more in a bank than a street. He doesn't go inside immediately. He stands under the awning as if checking messages. He scans the street casually, left, right, up. Leona forces herself to stay still. Dorian's gaze is hard, focused. After a minute, the man enters, using no key, just a fob or code. The door clicks behind him. Dorian nods once. "He has access," he murmurs. "He's not just a thief. He's inside systems." Leona's mind flashes to the documents, tenancy notices, bank letters, systems, fonts, authority. They wait. At 11:41, the man exits again. He's carrying a flat cardboard envelope under his arm. He walks with no hurry, blending into the city as if he belongs to it. Dorian stands. Now. They follow at a distance, through side streets and past cafes, through the slow bustle of Notting Hill. The man doesn't look back, but Leona feels as if he can sense them anyway. He stops at a small shop near Westbourne Grove, one of those places that sells phone cases and cheap chargers, and also, quietly, keys. A key-cutting kiosk glows inside. The man speaks to the clerk briefly. The clerk nods, disappears into the back.
Leona's throat tightens. Keys again. Always keys. The man leaves 5 minutes later without the envelope. He walks away empty-handed, as if he's delivered something more valuable than paper. Dorian exhales slowly. Drop point, he murmurs. He's moving pieces. Leona's hands tremble. Can we get it? Dorian shakes his head. Not yet, he says. We need to know where it goes. They watch the shop for an hour. People come and go, ordinary. At 13:10, a different person enters. A woman in a bright scarf, pushing a pram. She looks like anyone. She leaves with a cardboard envelope tucked under the blanket. Leona's mouth goes dry. That's a runner, Dorian says, jaw tight. They use people who look safe. They follow again. The woman moves through the streets with the pram, stopping at crossings, looking down at the baby now and then. She blends into the city so perfectly it makes Leona feel ill. At a corner near a small park, the woman pauses, adjusts the blanket, and slips the envelope into a bin liner tied to the pram handle, hidden in plain sight. She walks away. A man in a high-vis vest approaches 10 minutes later, as if collecting rubbish. He removes the bin liner and carries it off. Dorian's eyes follow him. Layered, he murmurs. Clever.
Leona's stomach twists. So how do we get the plan? Dorian looks at her, the tired anger in his eyes sharpening into something fierce. We don't chase the envelope, he says. We make him chase us. That night, back in Dorian's room, Leona watches her own face in the phone's reflection and feels like it belongs to someone else. Tell me what to do, she whispers. Dorian's voice is calm. Tomorrow, he says, you go back to the charity shop. Leona's blood chills. Why? Dorian's mouth twists. Because that's where they plant permission, he says. And if we're right, he slides one of his keys across the table. Brass, old, teeth uneven. It bears a tiny triangle and dot. They'll come to collect it.
On Tuesday, Leona returns to the charity shop alone. Dorian insists she must. If I go, he says, they'll watch me. You're the story they're writing. Use that. Leona's stomach is tight all the way there. She feels eyes everywhere. Windows, cars, shopfront reflections. Inside, the bell jingles. The woman behind the counter looks up, her pale eyes immediately wary. You again, she says softly. Leona forces a smile that feels like cracked glass. I need to return something, she says. The woman's gaze flicks to Leona's hands. Leona doesn't show the key. She shows the laminated card. The woman's face tightens. You shouldn't have that. I didn't ask for it, Leona says. The woman's voice drops. They'll come. Leona keeps her expression calm with effort. Have they come before? The woman hesitates. Sometimes, she says. Sometimes they send someone else. Someone with a smile who isn't really smiling. Leona nods, as if she's browsing. She moves toward a rack of coats, pretending to examine them while her heart hammers. Minutes pass. 10, 15. Then the bell jingles again. Leona doesn't turn immediately. She watches the mirror fixed behind the counter, the sort used to see shoplifters. In the mirror, she sees him. Gray coat, neat hair, polite posture. He speaks to the woman behind the counter. She stiffens. Her hands move as if she's following instructions. Leona's blood goes cold. The man's gaze flicks, casual, scanning the shop.
His eyes pass over Leona in the mirror,
without stopping, as if she's invisible, or as if she's exactly where he expects. Leona's phone buzzes in her pocket. Dorian's message. He's there. Don't move. Let him lead. Leona's mouth goes dry. She keeps breathing. She keeps pretending to look at coats. The man reaches into his pocket and places something on the counter. A small brown envelope. The woman takes it with shaking fingers. Leona hears the man's voice, soft and pleasant. It's important, he says, that it ends up in the right hands. The woman nods, eyes flicking nervously toward the back room as if considering escape. The man smiles. He turns. And then his eyes land on Leona. Not in the mirror. Directly. Like a lock finding its key. The politeness on his face deepens, becomes almost friendly. He walks toward her with the ease of a man approaching someone he knows. Leona, he says softly, as if greeting an old friend in a market. Leona's throat tightens. I don't know you. He smiles faintly. You know enough. He replies. He stops beside her, close enough that Leona can smell rain and something sharp. Aftershave, clean and cold. Did you enjoy the room? He asks lightly. Leona forces herself to meet his gaze. I'm not playing, she says. His eyes gleam. Everyone plays, he replies. Some people just pretend they aren't. Leona's hand tightens around her phone in her pocket. What do you want? The man glances toward the counter. You have something that belongs to me, he says.
Leona's heart pounds. You placed it. Placed, lost, sold, he says, mild. Words. Leona swallows. You forged documents. You're going to do something next week. The man's smile doesn't change. Next week, he says softly, is a corridor. You can walk through it quietly, or you can trip and make a mess. Leona's skin prickles. I have your face on video. A small pause. His eyes narrow slightly, as if measuring. Do you? He asks. Leona doesn't answer. She lets the threat hang, even though she isn't sure it will protect her. The man's gaze drifts to Leona's pocket, as if he can see the key through fabric. You don't understand, he says gently. The documents weren't the danger. They were the warning. Leona's stomach drops. Warning of what? The man leans closer, voice low enough that only she can hear. Of how easy it is, he says, for London to agree you were somewhere you weren't. Leona's breath stutters. He straightens, polite again. Return the key, he says, almost kindly, and you can go back to being unimportant. Leona's jaw clenches. And if I don't? The man's smile widens a fraction. Then you'll meet yourself next week, he says, and you won't like what she's willing to do. He turns away, walks back toward the counter, as if the conversation never happened. The woman behind the counter is pale, hands shaking as she slides the brown envelope toward him. He takes it, nods, and leaves, the bell jingling cheerfully behind him. Leona stands frozen, heart slamming, as the shop's ordinary sounds rush back in around her. Murmured conversations outside, traffic, rain. Her phone buzzes again. Dorian's message. He's rattled. Good. Bring the envelope. Bring everything. Now. Leona's eyes snap to the counter. The envelope is gone, taken by the man. But on the counter, left behind like a tip, is a single coin. 50 pence. Leona picks it up, fingers numb.
On one side, someone has scratched a tiny triangle and dot.
Leona and Dorian returned to Wrenhaven House the next day at dawn. The city is quieter then, as if holding its breath between night and morning. Delivery vans hum. Foxes slip along curbs. The sky is a pale bruise. Dorian moves like someone who has done this too often. He wears a maintenance vest, carries his tool bag, keeps his face neutral. Leona's heart is a drum in her chest. The key sits heavy in her pocket, wrapped like a weapon. They enter the building without using the key. Dorian has a fob now. How he got it, Leona doesn't ask. She is beginning to understand that London is a place where access can be purchased, stolen, copied, borrowed. On the 4th floor, 4B's door looks the same, innocent, ordinary. Dorian nods at Leona. "Your key," he murmurs. Leona's hands tremble as she unlocks it. The door opens. Inside, the flat is colder than before. The air has that emptied feeling, like a hotel room after checkout. The throw on the sofa is folded more neatly. The mug is gone from the sink. The book on the coffee table is missing. Someone has cleaned. Someone has reset the stage. Leona's throat tightens. He knows we're coming. Dorian's voice is low. "He expects you," he says. "Not me." They go straight to the picture frame. Leona's fingers hover, then press the panel seam. It opens. The hidden room is different. The shelves are half cleared. The printer is gone. The folders have been removed, leaving blank spaces like missing teeth.
The speakers in the corners remain, but their wires have been stripped, dangling like veins. On the desk sits a single folder, a clean white folder, unlabeled. Leona's stomach drops. Dorian doesn't touch it. He looks at Leona. "It's for you," he says. Leona steps closer. Her hands shake as she opens it. Inside is one document, a typed letter, crisp and formal, dated next week, 15 April. It is addressed to her, Miss Leona Ashfield. "We confirm your attendance at 11:15 on 15 April as a witness to the incident at Westbourne Park. Your statement has been scheduled at 1300. Please bring identification." Below, a line in smaller print. "If you are reading this early, you have already deviated. Correction will be applied." Leona's mouth goes dry. "Correction," she whispers. Dorian's jaw tightens. "Threat," he says. Leona flips the page. Under the letter is a printed photograph, a CCTV still of Leona entering Wrenhaven House yesterday. She hadn't noticed the camera. She flips again. Another still, Dorian outside Ladbroke Grove. Another, the charity shop. The last image is the worst. Leona asleep in her own flat, taken through her window from the street. Her chest constricts. "How?" Dorian's voice is flat. "They're inside," he says. "Not just in buildings, in routines." Leona's fingers go numb. She turns the final page. It's a floor plan of 4B, the hidden room, the panel, the wires, and on the margin, a handwritten note in neat black ink. "The key opens doors. The story opens people." Leona's eyes burn.
She looks at Dorian. He's enjoying this. Dorian nods once. "Yes," he says, which means he's arrogant. Leona's voice cracks. "What do we do?" Dorian reaches into his tool bag and pulls out a small device. Nothing dramatic, just a cheap signal detector. He turns it on. The screen lights. A soft beep begins, steady. Leona's breath catches. "What is that?" "Speakers," Dorian says. "Transmitters, anything that's talking when it shouldn't." He sweeps it along the wall. The beep quickens near the picture frame. There, he says. He's still listening. Leona's stomach turns. She feels suddenly naked, exposed, as if her thoughts have volume. Dorian leans close to her ear. We talk to him, he whispers. We give him something. Leona's mouth goes dry. Like what? Dorian's eyes are hard. A different witness, he says. Leona stares. Me. Dorian shakes his head. No, he says. Him. Leona's skin prickles. How do we make him? Dorian lifts Leona's phone, opens the camera, points it at the wall near the picture frame as if filming nothing. Then he speaks, calm and loud enough to carry into the hidden transmitter. You want her next week, Dorian says, voice steady, but you left your face on her phone. Silence. Dorian continues. You want her to be ordinary, he says, but you made yourself memorable. Leona's heart pounds. Then faintly, from inside the wall, a sound. A soft click, like a timer waking. Leona's skin goes cold. A voice comes through, calm as ever. Dorian, it says, amused. You're still trying to win. Dorian's jaw tightens. You staged a witness, he says. You staged documents. You staged a week. The voice laughs softly. And you staged a rebellion, it replies. It's charming. Leona's hands tremble. Dorian keeps his voice steady. Tell me, he says, why Westbourne Park? Why 11:15? A pause. The voice becomes almost tender. Because that's when the city pays attention, it says. Because that's when people look. Because that's when a witness becomes truth. Leona's throat tightens. What is the incident? She blurts, unable to stop herself. The voice shifts toward her like a hand stroking her hair. You'll see, it says gently. You always wanted a story. Leona's stomach twists with rage. I didn't ask for this. The voice laughs softly. No, it says, but you bought the key. Dorian's eyes flick to Leona. He nods once, as if confirming something. Then he speaks into the wall, voice low and sharp. We'll be there, he says, at 11:15, and we'll have your face. Silence. For the first time, the voice does not answer immediately. When it finally speaks, the politeness is thinner. Careful, it says. If you pull too hard on the thread, you'll find out what's tied to the other end. The timer clicks again inside the wall, and the line goes dead. Leona stands shaking, staring at the wall as if it might open and swallow her. Dorian exhales slowly. He's spooked, he murmurs. Leona's voice is a whisper. Is that good? Dorian's eyes harden. It means he'll move, he says. And when he moves, he looks at the key in Leona's hand like it's a living thing. We follow.
On 15 April, the morning arrives too bright, as if London is trying to look innocent. Leona doesn't go to work. She doesn't answer calls. She sits with Dorian in a cafe near Westbourne Park Station, both of them watching the time on their phones like it's a bomb. They're early. They have to be. Leona's stomach churns. She keeps seeing the letter. Incident at 11:15. Statement at 1300. Dorian has a small earpiece. He's not police, but he has friends in strange places, people who owe him, people who were once almost erased. Somewhere nearby, he says, someone is watching the station entrance. Leona doesn't ask how. She has learned that survival is often built from unsanctioned networks. At 11:04, her phone buzzes. Unknown number. Leona stares at it. Dorian nods once. Answer, he says. Leona accepts. The voice is gentle. Leona, it says warmly. Happy next week. Leona's hands tremble. She forces her voice steady. I'm not doing what you want. A soft laugh.
You already are, the voice replies. You're here. Leona swallows. Where are you? The voice sounds amused. Everywhere you've been, it says. Keys are generous. Leona's stomach twists. Dorian leans in slightly, listening. I saw your face, Leona says, voice shaking. On my phone. I have you. A pause. Then softly. Do you? The voice asks. Leona's throat tightens. Yes. The voice becomes almost kind. Then you'll understand this, it says. Leona hears a faint hound through the phone. A whistle. High and short. 2 notes. Not loud. Not obvious. But deliberate. Dorian's eyes snap up. Signal. He murmurs. Leona's heart slams. What is that? The voice is calm. Timing, it says. Just timing. The call ends. Leona stands abruptly, chair scraping. Dorian grabs her wrist. Not yet, he says sharply. Leona's voice cracks. Something's happening. Dorian's gaze scans the station entrance. People move in and out, ordinary. At 11:13, a man in a gray coat appears near the station, walking slowly, carrying a messenger bag. He looks like any commuter. Leona's blood runs cold. That's him. Dorian's jaw tightens. Stay low, he murmurs. The man doesn't look at them. He stops by a bin, drops something inside casually, and keeps walking. Leona's stomach turns. Drop. Dorian's voice is clipped. We can't chase everything, he says. Watch him. At 11:15 exactly, a scream cuts through the air near the station entrance, sharp, sudden. People turn. A crowd forms instantly, bodies pressing toward the sound like water toward a drain. Leona's heart stops. Through the crowd, she sees it, a man on the ground by the entrance, clutching his leg, blood seeping between his fingers. Not a knife, not a gun, a fall, hard, wrong, staged or not staged, it doesn't matter. People are shouting, someone is calling for help. Leona's mouth goes dry. That's the incident. Dorian's eyes are razor sharp. Not the crime, he says, the distraction. Leona's stomach twists. Then what's the real? Dorian's phone buzzes. He glances. Then his face hardens. Now, he says. He pulls Leona up, and they move fast. Not toward the crowd, but away from it. Toward the side street where the gray coat man went. Leona's breath is ragged. Where? Dorian points. That bin, he says. They reach it. Dorian digs through quickly, gloved hands moving with grim familiarity. He pulls out a small plastic pouch. Inside, a set of keys. Not one, several. One of them is brass and old. Triangle and dot. Leona's hands tremble. What does it open? Dorian's eyes flick to the nearby buildings. Rows of flats, doors, lives behind them. A place, he says. Or a person. Leona's phone buzzes again. Unknown number. Leona answers, breath shaking. The voice is gentle. Now, it says softly. You will be seen. Leona's blood turns to ice. Seen where? The voice smiles through sound. Where you shouldn't be, it says. Where the city will remember you. Leona's throat tightens. Where not, the voice interrupts, calm. Look up, it says. Leona looks. Across the street, at a building entrance, she sees herself. Not a reflection, not a woman who looks similar. A woman in Leona's coat, Leona's posture, Leona's hair, moving with the familiar way Leona moves when she's late. She's walking toward a door. Keys in hand, Leona's knees go weak. That's, Dorian grabs her elbow. Don't panic, he hisses. The imposter doesn't look at them. She unlocks the door and slips inside, disappearing into someone else's life. Leona's breath comes in broken gasps.
She's wearing me. Dorian's voice is tight. That's the point, he says. They don't need you to lie.
They need you to exist in two places at once. Leona's phone crackles. The voice is soft, satisfied. Next week is already written, it says, and you've just met your author. Leona's eyes burn with tears and fury. Who are you? A pause. Then, finally, the voice answers. Not with a name, but with a location. Wrenhaven House, it says. 4B. The call ends. Dorian's eyes are hard. He's gone back, he says. Leona's jaw clenches. Her fear hardens into something sharp. She grips the key so tightly it hurts. Then we go, she whispers. And for the first time, Leona understands the true weight of a key. It isn't metal, it's war.
Wrenhaven House looks ordinary in the afternoon sun. That's the cruelest part. A building that holds other people's dinners and laundry and arguments, now holding a war over a woman's name. Leona and Dorian return fast. Dorian moves like he's already seen too many endings. Leona moves like she refuses to be one. They enter the building and climb the stairs without speaking. Leona's shoulder aches, but she doesn't care. On the 4th floor, 4B's door is closed. Leona's key is in her hand. She inserts it, turns. The lock clicks. Inside, the flat is darker than before, curtains drawn. The air smells faintly of aftershave and warm electronics. The sitting room is not empty. The man in the gray coat sits on the sofa as if he lives there. His posture is relaxed, legs crossed, hands resting lightly on his knees. He looks like a solicitor waiting to begin a polite conversation. A small camera sits on the coffee table, pointed at the door. He smiles when Leona enters. "Leona," he says warmly, "you've brought company." Dorian steps in behind her, silent, eyes hard. The man's gaze flicks to Dorian. "Dorian," he says, amused, "still allergic to losing." Leona's voice is steady with effort. "Where is she?" she demands. The man tilts his head. "Who?" he asks, too innocent. "The woman," Leona snaps. "The one wearing me." The man smiles faintly. "You mean the one living your week?" he asks. "She's doing well." Leona's stomach twists. "Why?" The man's tone remains gentle.
"Because identity is easier to steal than money," he says. "Money is tracked. Identity is believed." Leona's jaw clenches. "You forged documents. You staged an incident. He interrupts softly. "I staged certainty," he says. "The city loves certainty. It loves paperwork. It loves a witness who looks harmless." Leona's hands shake. "You're ruining people." The man's smile thins. "People ruin themselves," he says. "I just redirect." Dorian steps forward. "It's over," he says flatly. The man looks at him as if he's fond. "Is it?" he asks. Dorian lifts Leona's phone. The video is ready. "We have your face," he says. "Your voice, your room, your system." The man's eyes glitter. "And you think the police will understand a hidden room in Notting Hill?" he asks gently. "You think they'll hear next week and not hear delusion?" Leona's chest tightens. He's right. He knows it. Dorian's voice stays hard. "Then we won't make it about next week," he says. "We'll make it about keys." The man's smile falters slightly, the first real crack. Dorian reaches into his bag and throws something onto the coffee table. A ring of keys. Dozens. They clink sharply, a bright sound in the dim room. The man's gaze drops to them. His nostrils flare, tiny, controlled. Leona sees it. Not fear, exactly. Possession. Dorian's eyes are cold. "I've been collecting," he says. "Your triangle and dot, your charity drops, your kiosk cuts, your lost property pulls." The man's voice remains calm but tighter.
You've wasted your life, he says. Dorian leans in. And you've been wasting other people's, he replies. Today ends. Leona's phone buzzes suddenly in her pocket. Unknown number. Leona's blood chills. The man smiles faintly. Answer, he says softly. It's polite. Leona doesn't move. The phone buzzes again. Dorian's jaw tightens. He nods once. Leona answers and puts it on speaker. A woman's voice fills the room. Leona's voice. Not recorded through a wall. Not engineered. Not distant. Close. Clear. Breathing. Leona, the voice says softly. I'm at your flat. Leona's stomach drops. No. The man's eyes gleam. You see, he murmurs. 2 places. The voice continues, calm, almost rehearsed. I found the documents, it says. I'm going to the police. I'm telling them everything. Leona's hands tremble. Stop, she whispers, not sure who she's speaking to. The man in gray coat watches Leona like she's a performance. Dorian steps closer to Leona. It's a lure, he whispers. He wants you to run. Leona's breath comes fast. The phone crackles. Her voice, someone else's mouth, says, I'm scared. Leona's eyes burn. She looks at the man. End this, she says. He smiles gently. You can, he says. Return the key. Walk away. Let next week happen. Leona's jaw clenches. Or, the man's eyes are calm. Or you lose control of your own name, he says softly. Forever. Leona's hands shake. Then she does something she didn't plan. She walks past the man to the picture frame. Her heart slams.
Dorian tenses behind her. The man's voice sharpens. Don't touch that. Leona presses the panel seam anyway. It opens. The hidden room is empty now, stripped, cleaned. Only the speakers remain, and a small device on the desk. A router, blinking lights, a cheap transmitter that hums like a heartbeat. Leona grabs it. The man stands quickly. Leona turns and hurls the device against the wall. Plastic cracks, lights die, the hum stops. For a second, the air in the flat feels like it has lost a pulse. The phone on speaker goes silent. Then, nothing. No voice, no breathing, no calm threat. Leona stares at the phone, chest heaving. Dorian moves fast, snatching it up, checking the call. It has dropped. The man in the gray coat is very still. His polite mask has slipped, revealing something colder underneath. Anger, yes, but also surprise. Leona's voice shakes. Your presence trick, she says. Your control, it's built on devices. The man's jaw tightens. You've made a mess, he says. Leona steps closer, eyes burning. Good, she whispers. Now it's real. Dorian moves to the window, pulls the curtain aside. Outside on the street, a police car turns the corner, slow, cautious, responding to something Dorian arranged without telling her. The man's eyes flick toward it. He calculates in silence. Leona realizes with a jolt he doesn't want police because police mean paper, and paper is his weapon. But police also mean unpredictability, and unpredictability is the one thing scripts can't control.
The man takes one step back, toward the hallway, toward whatever hidden exit he used before. Dorian blocks him, calm and solid. Not this time, he says quietly. The man's gaze moves between them. His smile returns, thinner. You think you've won, he says softly. Leona's voice is ragged. I think I've chosen, she replies. The man tilts his head. You'll spend the rest of your life checking locks, he says gently. You'll see triangle and dot everywhere. You'll hear your own voice in crowds. You'll never feel certain again. Leona swallows hard. Maybe, she whispers, but it'll be my uncertainty, not yours. The police knock at the door. Dorian opens it.
The man in the gray coat doesn't run. He simply sits back down on the sofa, hands on his knees, polite posture restored, like a man who knows how to wear any role. Leona stands in the middle of the room, shaking, key still in her palm. A constable steps in, eye scanning the flat. "We had a report of a break-in," he says. Leona looks at Dorian. He nods once. Leona steps forward and places the key on the coffee table, as if placing down a weapon. "I did," she says, voice steadying, "and I can prove why." As the police move deeper into the flat, Leona hears a faint sound she almost misses, a soft metallic click. She looks down. In the carpet near her shoe lies a small strip of paper, like something that fell from a pocket unnoticed. A claim tag. Blank. She picks it up with shaking fingers. On the back, faint ink appears when she tilts it to the light. 22 April. Next week again. And below the date, in the same neat handwriting as the ledger, a single line. Another door, another key. Leona's breath catches. Then she folds the tag slowly, hides it in her palm, and lifts her chin. Because she understands now. The Notting Hill key wasn't just a key. It was a warning about how easily a city can be unlocked, and how hard you have to fight to close the door behind you.